Hello, my fellow seekers. Welcome to Into the Work, therapy for empaths, seekers, and the intuitively driven, where you have front row seats to therapy sessions and expert interviews that will help you define the important work that you're here to do. So I guess you actually have something better than front row seats. You practically have a seat on my couch. That's right, you will have unrestricted access to actual sessions with real people, exploring real life issues. You will continue to be inspired by powerful conversations with experts and healers that might just share exactly what it is that you need to hear to get unstuck. I am Michelle Pauverman. I am a recovering people pleaser and former anxiety-driven empath, turned now mostly grounded psychotherapist and intuitive coach. I have been helping people for almost 20 years manage their limiting beliefs and anxiety to finally stop the self-sabotage and step into their gifts. I created this podcast, Into the Work, to give you a place to learn more about yourself and give you actionable strategies to finally move those roadblocks holding you back so you can go for what you want. Above all else, my hope is that this podcast is a catalyst for your awakening. If you're listening, you've already taken a step towards getting off of autopilot, and our next steps together will be taken episode by episode, waking you up to the possibilities, the new ways of thinking and being, so that you can stretch into that next level of your story. The spark has already been lit, and my friend, this is a journey from spark to brilliance. So together, let's light a fire. Hello, welcome back to the show. Today, we are going to dive into talking about how you can stop blocking your intuition. In fact, by the end of this episode, you will not only understand the two most common ways that you're blocking your intuition, you will also understand why it's so important for you to heal this. And I'm going to give you a two-part exercise at the end to get you started in your process of healing this particular issue, because being able to tap into your intuition, you'll hear me say this throughout, and you've heard me say it before if you listen to my podcast or follow me on social media. But the truth is that tapping into our intuition is one of our greatest mental health tools in so many ways. And so I'm really excited about this topic because it's not just about mental health. Mental health really is everything. You know that when you lose it, just like you know what it is to lose your physical health. Our well-being is based on our ability to fire up our internal energy, our soul energy to move forward and create really exciting things in our life, to feel joy, to feel motivated and excited. And all of this comes from being in touch with our potential, our true self, our higher intuition, all the ways we can talk about it. So let's jump in. And I'm going to start by talking about the two reasons why you have a difficult time recognizing or accessing your intuition. And by the way, this also goes hand in hand with being able to recognize and access energy in itself. Practicing this for your intuition also makes you more sensitive and more capable of accessing energy, recognizing it, being able to work with it. So first of all, one of the first two that's really important for you to understand, and that is that being out of your body is a problem. You don't need to be disconnected from your physical self and your physical life to be more spiritual and intuitive. And on one hand, some of us have this belief that I need to be disconnected from things, from money, from things that are going to take away from my spiritual health. And that's not true. But it also isn't true that you have to be all floaty and pie in the sky and up, that in a sense, the belief is that in order for me to be truly accessing intuition, I sort of need to be above myself and out of my body. And that's not true. Secondly, we are out of our body just trying to survive this world that we're in, right? So we are trying to survive the world we're in, and we're doing it from an analytical brain space where we're constantly thinking, problem solving, and we're going to dive into a lot of that stuff. But in order to be more intuitive, I actually want to tell you that you can be very attached to the physical things in your life. You can be very attached to the things that you love. You can be very attached to the body you're in, and you should be. In fact, we're going to teach you how to be more in your body, as much as possible in your body, so that you can actually feel significantly better in so many levels. So I want you to start off with the idea that we are bigger energetically than we are physically. Okay, so that means that when you imagine your spirit, I want you to imagine that your spirit is literally all around you. It takes up a ton of space. We are more out of our body than we are in our body when it comes to our energetics. So I want you to imagine what it might be like for you, or how you might even be as you're listening to this podcast right now. As you're listening to this podcast, if you were to say, how in my body am I right now? And you might be like, well, how do I know? How do I tell, right? Being in your body does require you to be very present, to literally learn to fill your body up with your own energy is really the end goal. And that in itself is a huge step towards connecting with your intuition. It's not being out of body, it's being the most possible in your body you can be. So the more we can fill our physical bodies up with our energy, the more powerfully connected we become as vessels, right? Vessels. And we are vessels here. And I teach this a lot when I teach Reiki, that we're learning to become a vessel, improving our vessel, that things come through me that aren't of me. And that is how I can help with healings. Now think about all the things that make you more powerful in life, right? Here we go. We got good boundaries, make you more powerful in every aspect of your life. They require you to be fully in your body. Present in relationships available for intimacy requires a full embodiment. Presenting powerfully at work, moving forward in your career and feeling powerful and saying and doing and taking action in alignment with your goals is total embodiment. You have to be powerful enough to move the needle. Setting goals and following through is a must be in a body thing. Impacting the world requires your full energetic self. In fact, in order to make a larger impact, you must be able to be fully integrated with more of your spirit in your body than just outside your body. The opposite is true when you have much less of your spirit or energy inside the body. You'll feel more unwell, moody, exhausted, stiff, achy, sore. So in order to help with this, it's very simple. You need to take 5 minutes to ground and 5 minutes to pull yourself back into the body. 5 minutes to ground means literally imagining and visualizing that you have a cord at the base of yourself that literally attaches to the center of the earth. This is my favorite. This is very popular. Lots of people do this. And you literally are connected to the earth. You're breathing that energy in and it's taking from you anything that doesn't serve you. But you're literally getting in the body, feeling planted, grounded. And then you're taking 5 minutes to pull yourself more fully into the body by imagining your energy all around you, expanding way beyond, and then breathe yourself back in until you feel a desired percentage of your energy is in the body. Just simply doing that, setting the intention to take that 10 minutes a day, can make a huge difference in how you show up in your body, how you feel in your body, how powerful you are, how much action you can take, in terms of you being able to really show up powerfully in your life. Now, the first being out of body is one of your biggest blocks to tapping into your intuition. But also, the second thing, which won't surprise you, many of you who have dabbled at all know this to be true, and that is that overthinking, overanalyzing is a big problem for you on so many levels. And when you leave this podcast episode, you are going to understand why. There is too much noise distracting you all the time. This is where many of us feel like we are just totally screwed, right? Like usually, especially the big thinkers and analyzers, they get to this point, they take a class or they want to learn about intuition and they hear this and they think, I'm screwed. I have a monkey brain that's bouncing all over the place. I have 1,000 questions all the time. I'm always thinking, always up in my head. I feel anxious, typically, or not. You don't have to have anxiety in order to be an overthinker or, either way. It's not an issue of whether or not, and this is really important. I want to make sure you hear this. It is not an issue of whether or not you are sensitive enough to tap into and receive your intuition. It has everything to do with how much you live up in your brain versus being present state of awareness. This kind of overthinking has been coined as the chatterbrain, the untrained brain. The Buddha described the human mind as being filled with drunken monkeys, jumping around, screeching, chattering, carrying on endlessly. We all have monkey minds, and the Buddha said, with dozens of monkeys all clamoring for attention. That is until we train the brain to be present. And if you're a big overthinker, you likely do have a bit of a monkey brain. It varies in terms of how chaotic your thinking is, how much you live up in your head, how often you're in your body, how far along you are in your spiritual growth in terms of having practices in place, in terms of getting grounded and things like that. They all make a difference. But our goal is to have a more balanced brain. And a lot of empaths either identify or recognize some ADD symptoms when they read a book about it, or you read anything about it, or you go on Instagram and you see a reel on it and you're like, oh my God, that's me. Empaths tend to have a lot of similarities. I'm going to do a whole episode on that separately. So I speak to all of us, and particularly those of us that know and identify with being up in our brains a lot. I want you to think about being in a balanced brain state, okay? That is having balance between having our own thoughts and allowing those thoughts to come in, while also being present and open. The goal, think 50-50. And by the way, the monkey brain is totally fueled by an energetically empty body, right? The less energy we hold in the body, the more overthinking and overanalyzing we do. But that balanced brain state, the one you're going for, is somebody, you want to be somebody who allows thoughts to come in, you utilize thoughts, you move through being more analytical, and then releasing that and moving into being intuitive, allowing for both to be happening. You can even simply watch your thoughts, and that in itself allows you to utilize thoughts while also being present in the moment and knowing what's going on in the moment and being in your body. I want to make sure that you hear this as well. I mentioned that the less energy we hold in the body, the more overthinking and overanalyzing we do. But I also would be remiss not to mention that energy and perfectionism are not friends. They do not belong together. So when you have an overanalyzing, overthinking brain, and you want to reach into energy work, and you want to reach into building intuition, which is energy in itself, everything is energy. When you're showing up with your overthinking, overanalyzing brain to get something that is correct or have an outcome that you believe is the right one or the right answer, to trying to tune in and receive information, can be very difficult because you are going to be blocked over focusing on why something comes up, how, trying to understand the hows and the whys of what you receive will get in the way. For example, let's say I sit and open up to my intuition about an event I'm going to later tonight in the evening, and I very clearly receive the guidance that I need to take a certain highway that I would never take in a million years. But I'm being told, you got to go this way. You just got to go this way. If I get into the how, coupled with, the why, and trying to understand, if I did that, then I would do this, and then I would go there. But that doesn't make sense. And if I were getting into the logical brain, I would very much block any further information coming in. And I would really mess up the very clean and clear information that I received. You see, intuition is clean and it's clear. Thinking is muddled and layered and complicated, right? So if I got into the how, I'm likely going to block it all and not follow my intuition. When I teach Reiki, many people struggle with the surrendering to the unknown part. I can see their brains firing off the desire to analytically understand it all. How does this work? Why does this happen? Energy requires your surrender to being present with what is in the moment and tap into the knowing of information versus the understanding of it. So if you have a lot of your self-worth embedded into knowing things through understanding and having knowledge through understanding, if you have habits around that and how you present around that, you might come up against that while you're trying to become more intuitive and work with energy. But learning how to do the knowing versus the understanding is the key. So exercises that can help you differentiate your experience with this sort of linear analytical thinking brain, right? The logical brain. And what I also call the receiving brain state, that present intuitive knowing, will help you determine the difference and eventually support you to moving from one state to another with ease. You have the capacity for both that thinking brain, that logical brain, as well as that receiving brain state of being present and receiving intuitive knowing. Now, you must also let go of what you should see and feel and be open to what you do actually see and feel. That is the surrendering I'm talking about without using your brain to judge it. Make sense? So let me tell you why you should care about this, okay? First off, out-of-body consequences. I want you to understand what it's like for you to be out of your body because you're not really connected to understanding the reason why you feel these consequences in life. And most of us don't connect them with, oh, I'm really out of my body all the time. So I want to talk to you about the abandoned building theory, which I've talked to you about in another episode. So you might have heard this before, but I'm just going to give you a quick little blurb. And that just is that if you are, I like to think of our bodies when we're not in them as abandoned buildings. And what happens at the abandoned building, right? We've got thugs that come in, we've got drug dealers, right? It becomes worse and worse off, right? It gets infested. Pathogenic stuff is allowed in. The body is unguarded. Our energy isn't there to protect it. The energy isn't there to help with whatever that body needs to thrive and grow. And therefore the same with an abandoned building. It's very similar. So I'd like to use that analogy for you to think about how vulnerable your body is when you aren't in it often. And the other consequences that come with it are really important too, like depression and anxiety is higher when you've got people who are less in their body. Lack of connection to intuition is not giving you that emotional mental health boost, that inner knowing that strengthens you to the core. You're not getting that. Right? More difficulty healing physical illness and physical issues is more prevalent when people are less in their bodies. Drained, lethargic energy levels, difficulty setting boundaries. I mean, it's hard to set boundaries when you're just flitting around in your head and you're anxious from bouncing around from one thought to the next and you're really not in your body, right? This is making it difficult. We also see blood sugar, blood pressure, different aspects of the body that just aren't functioning high enough without the energy of your spirit in your body. And now overthinking. Overthinking has lots and lots of stuff. Most of it won't surprise you, but it has lots and lots of consequences. It leads to more and more critical and black and white thinking, which also are top symptoms for depression. That critical, judgmental thinking, procrastination, and fear-based avoidance is for sure an issue with overthinking. Physically, we see adrenal and gut issues and immune system issues, migraines, issues with vertigo, and other inner ear issues, certainly insomnia, right? Can't shut that brain off. And of course, we all know that our overthinking and overanalyzing can lead to untapped potential because you just keep getting in your own way. It's so hard to take the action and make your inspiring dreams come true when you're up in your head, overanalyzing, overthinking, and coming from a place of fear, because that's usually what fuels overthinking and overanalyzing. There are lots of reasons why I often say that learning how to tap into your intuition is undeniably one of your most profound mental health tools for resiliency and having power in your life. So, to end, the top 2 exercises I'd recommend that you practice are as follows. 1, you're going to ground, like we discussed. You're going to ground yourself. You can imagine a grounding cord from the base of your spine down into the center of the earth. And I want you to spend the time grounding and then breathing your spirit all the way back into the body. Imagine there's a meter that's telling you how much you've entered into the body. And I want you to get up to like 80, 90% if possible. If you can get up to 100, that's wonderful. If you're a strong visualizer, it'll help. Next, I want you to spend the next 5 minutes simply visualizing a volume button. So you've grounded, you've pulled yourself all the way back into the body, and now I want you to just imagine this knob, or maybe it's a slide along one, but it's a volume button. And this is a button that it will tell you how much of the noise and overthinking you allow in. And as you turn this button down, your thinking gets further and further into the background and quieter and quieter. And your awareness becomes more and more acutely clear of the present moment, of your body in the present moment, the sounds around you, the experience of being in this present moment. And then you're allowing your attention to drift a bit above your eyes and just allowing that attention to drift upward into your head without thinking. Now you can practice how it feels to turn that volume all the way, right? So that you have lots and lots of thinking. In fact, I recommend you do that to start. Just allow yourself to have any and all thoughts and then see what that feels like. Experiment with what it's like for you to turn it down 70%, 50%. Now turn it down to 30%. And what do you notice about how it feels in your body to turn the noise down? Deciphering between how it feels to be thinking and how it feels to be open and present for receiving. That is it. That's it, folks. It's so simple, but it is so important. It is something that most of us have no idea about. We're not taught this, and I think it's a fascinating tool. It's unbelievable to me how I can change my entire self in 10 minutes doing these type of exercises. So again, you're grounding, you're breathing your spirit all the way back in, you're creating the volume button in terms of how much thinking and noise you allow in, and you're opening up to receiving that energy, which drifts up a bit upward. All right. I hope this was helpful. I want you to give it a try. Certainly rate and let me know how this episode went for you. And I am wishing you so much wellness on your journey because I think starting this is going to make a big difference into how you feel every day. Be well, my friend. Thank you for listening to Into the Work Therapy for Empaths and Seekers. Don't forget to grab your free gift, your Shadow Work Transformation Bundle at michellepoverman.com. I've included everything you need to get started to break through the patterns of self-sabotage and finally start to heal the parts of yourself that are getting in the way of truly reaching your potential. From a powerful meditation designed to help you meet and embrace your shadow self, to the guide that's full of curated prompts and important questions to support you on this journey. This really can be the work for you to unmask the root cause of all the issues you've been experiencing, honestly, and start to feel free to believe in yourself and go for what you want. The link for this free bundle is in the show notes. And if you like this episode, I would be so grateful if you could take a moment and rate, click and follow, and leave a review. Of course, you can always follow me on socials at Michelle Poverman. And keep in mind, as you embark on your journey from spark to brilliance, remember, the universe is always conspiring in favor of your awakening. Everything that's happening is in support of you lighting your own fire within. So until we meet again, may your path be well lit and your heart be guided. Shine bright, seekers. Until next time.